If you've been watching the channel for very long, you may know that one of the things I like to do here at Survival on Purpose is take a look at new and innovative products in the preparedness marketplace, we'll say. So a couple of months ago at SHOT Show, I ran into some folks that certainly have an innovative product. We had a conversation about a potential sponsorship, and honestly, my first reaction was, I don't know that this product is something that I would need to use, but trying to keep an open mind, I thought I would check it out anyway, and certainly there may be some people that this would be a benefit to. So what I thought we'd do in today's video is I'm going to show it to you, and in the comment section below, please let me know what you think, if you think this would be a benefit to somebody you know. And I'm talking about the SPD Mag with a easy loading attachment, we'll call it that. So that's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. And thanks to the folks at SPD Mags for sponsoring today's video. And in good old plain Georgia English, what that means is they are paying me to show you these magazines and to test them. Ain't America great? So I'll be quick because I've been accused of rambling, rightfully so. But as I said, I met these folks at SHOT Show a couple of months ago. And they had come out with this very innovative design to make it easier to load magazines. So my first response was, I don't really have trouble loading magazines, so I don't know if that's a solution looking for a problem or if it is really something that's necessary. But talking to my wife, who, by the way, has trouble loading magazines, and so kind of made me think, well, maybe this could be useful for somebody. Certainly nothing's for everybody, but if it will get somebody out to practice and train, but who's been hesitant to do so because they don't want to have to load all those magazines, or they just can't, then I think it's a good thing. And that brings me to my next point, very, very important. This is not anything I would recommend for your everyday carry, self-defense firearm. I only recommend using factory magazines from the manufacturer in anything you're going to carry for self-defense. That's my recommendation, and I'm sticking by it. But if you're going to carry a pistol for self-defense, I highly encourage you to train and practice. And that's going to involve loading a lot of magazines. So if you're somebody who has trouble, or you know somebody that has trouble loading magazines, then maybe that might prevent you or them from wanting to get out and practice and train. Anything that'll make that easier could be a benefit. So I'm all for that. So with that being said, what I'd like to hear from you is your comments on whether you think this is a solution looking for a problem, or if it's a potential benefit to people who have trouble loading magazines. So now, without further ado, we're going to take you down to the old tabletop. I'm going to show you how this thing works, and then I'll show you a couple of options, and then we'll take it to the range and make sure it actually functions in a firearm. So let's get to that. Okay, so here is the SPD Mag. And this is a complete magazine you can buy from them for around 40, 50 bucks, 45 bucks or something like that. It comes with a Glock magazine and their base on it. And this is what is inside of it. So you can also buy this is the kit to transform your own magazine. But the way it works is, it's got this little crank on the bottom. You see this is, by the way, it's made in the USA of high quality materials. And so you just crank this thing down. See if you can see watch the follower. You give it a couple of turns, it starts going down, right? Unless you just drop some rounds in. It's a little cold on my hands out here today, and just crank it a couple of times, drop some more in, and so there's absolutely no effort required to put these rounds in here, other than just turn this little crank out here, and it's really easy to turn. You're just compressing the spring. Make sure you put them in right, Brian. And we've got a 17 round magazine here from a Glock 17, so we're going to try and see how well this thing loads up 17 rounds. All right, a couple more. And they don't really recommend you do the whole thing at once, just because what's going to happen is it's going to make it really difficult to get them straight in there. So this as far as it goes, it kind of stops. Now we're going to take the last one, probably have to push it down a little bit, but so one round I had to push a little bit. And then you're going to make sure you turn it back counterclockwise about 1.5, something like that. So the USA is up, and that releases the catch in here. It's got a little ratchet. Somewhere in this thing here, this little ratchet. So then I just want to make sure this thing works. So I'm going to pop it out, make sure none of these hang up. This is a quick test. I'm going to take it to the range in a minute. We're going to do a real test, but just to make sure. So those are 17 rounds in there. And there you go. So, like I said, you can buy a full one like this already made, or you can buy just a kit and put it in your own magazine. And what's cool about this is all the materials are the highest quality. Their polymer parts are injection molded carbon fiber composite. The internal parts and springs are 6061 aluminum and stainless steel. And this little cable, which is what connects everything, and basically it's got a crank in here somewhere that winds this cable down. It is made of UHMWPE, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, which if you saw my bulletproof vest videos recently, that's the stuff they make bulletproof vests out of. So it's super, super strong. So let's talk about real quickly how to install one of these in a standard OEM magazine. And it's going to be very helpful if you have some kind of tool like this little Glock magazine tool, base plate removal tool. Basically the way that works is, here's the stock magazine. You just poke that little hole down there and you pull it back. You don't have to have one of these. You can just have something to poke it in, and you can squeeze it here, pull it out. But this is, man, if you got Glocks, you need one of these. It makes it really easy to take the base plate off. Once you get it pulled off, hold your thumb over here like that. Don't let the spring out. Move these out of the way. Take your spring and follower out. So now your magazine tube is empty. The next step is to take the SPD kit. It's the bottom where the little USA is. Turn this thing 180 degrees counterclockwise. Again, counterclockwise, so that the USA is upside down. Then turn it right side up again. And what I like to do is I just take one hand, hold the spring back a little bit, pull this little base follower, or whatever you call it, base plate down, and put my hands up, fingers right up in between it like so. So you've got it trapped between the little plate here and the base plate here. And then I think it's a little tip. If it turns this way, it's really hard. The string wants to pop out. Spring wants to kind of get out of the way. If you turn it like that, angle back towards your wrist, I find it's easier. Next step is to slide this in, round part of the base plate to the round part of the magazine. Slide it in. When you feel this little plate here go into the magazine, just hold it in place. Push it down hard with your fingers so it doesn't get out of the way. Stretch the little cable. This there you go. Push it up on there like so, and just snap it shut. Then turn this thing back, and it's in. Now the way to test that is just crank it down a little bit till you see the follower start to move down. They say when it goes down about 1 inch or so, you can see inside there about 1 inch down, and just turn it back a quarter turn, it should pop up. That lets you know that the cable's released, so the spring's gonna work properly. Now, again, to load it, just crank it down a few times, drop your rounds in. They say to do 2 or 3 rounds at a time until you get used to it. I did too many, but then you got to worry about making sure the rounds are even, lined up right. And you can do that. It's not that hard to do. Just you don't want to get around in there backwards because it won't run in your gun that way. And oh, I just hit it. See? When you hit it, it releases. It's supposed to do that. That's how you make sure that you're not hanging up your spring and it's going to continue to feed rounds into your magazine when you go bang. It's supposed to be. Push the last one in, pop it like that counterclockwise, fully loaded, 17 rounds. Real quickly, I'll show you. They also have, this was for the Glock 17. They have also for the Glock 19, 15 round. They have PMag adapters. They all work the same. So you can go on their website and you can check them out. So I think it would behoove us now to take this sucker to the range and make sure they actually function in a real firearm. Okay, so I'm gonna start this with the 15 round magazine, fully loaded, 15 rounds in here. See how well it performs. Did okay. Let's try a 17 rounder. I don't know if this is my original with a kit or this is theirs. I think this one is my original with a kit. I don't know how to tell either. Worked just fine. Try one more 15 rounder. I'm sorry, this is 17 round. Worked just fine. Try an AR mag. We'll start with this Mission First Tactical 28 round magazine with the adapter on bottom. Let's see how she goes. So far so good. Let's try the mag pull. Again, mag pull, 28 round magazine with SPD adapter. I feel like I pulled one to the left for sure. Okay, a couple to the left. Yeah, I thought I had a couple of really pulls there. A couple more, so not a bad group, but anyway. Bottom line, the magazine functioned just fine. So as far as function goes, they all seem to be working. Okay, just for kicks, thought I would try to load the 15 round magazine manually without turning the little crank down, and it seemed to load fine. Let's make sure there's no malfunctions there. That did not. Okay, got to rack it right, Brian. Worked just fine. The boogeyman checks under his bed for Chuck Norris. Okay, so that was some real-world testing of the SPD Mags, both in the 9mm for the Glock and the AR-15, couple versions, the Mission First Tactical and P-Mags. And as you saw, they all function completely just like a regular magazine. I did try to load this one manually the last time, and just to see if it had any effect on it. It didn't. They worked fine. So the only thing I will say is when I was loading the AR-15 mags, you got to kind of pay a little bit of attention to it because, you know, they're staggered in there, right? The rounds are staggered in there. When you push them in from the top, they automatically fall that way. But when you drop this down a little bit, you got to kind of watch them, make sure one of them doesn't get kind of crooked in there. But it's not hard to do, and it worked fine. So I got to say they both function flawlessly. Now, whether or not there's something you would need, that's going to be up to you. Whether or not they are a solution looking for a problem, I'd be interested in your take on that. I will say, I know some people that have a really hard time loading magazines, and something like this could be a help to them. There are other ways you can do it too. This is just all self-contained. And finally, I got to say it again, I do not recommend anything like this for your personal carry firearm. Like, this is not something I would carry to defend myself. This is strictly, in my opinion, for practice and training. But if this allows somebody who has a hard time getting magazines loaded and therefore decides they don't want to fool with training and practice, if this allows them to practice and go get some training, then I think it's a good thing. So I'll be interested to hear your comments below. Thanks again to the folks at SPD Mags for sending me these so I could test them out and show them to you. And as always, thank you for watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.